this tripped me out, right? I just mentioned this game, Demon Souls. Now, Demon Souls is getting a remake for the PlayStation 5. And the Souls games have classically been they're classic games in general. And with those classic games, they are remaking them, which I'm not against. I'm not necessarily against using the hardware to make the game even more ambitious than what it was before. But there is a particular part of this, let's say, Polygon article that I want to discuss here. And I'm sorry I'm laughing because it was a funny thing, but it speaks to a lot of what we had been talking about before. And that is, if we can move on here, difficulty. All right. So, Demon Souls on PS5, Polygon does this article. Now, well, let me set the scene because some of you guys have never played any of the Souls games. This is a game that specifically built, and this is why, again, when I talk about, like I did the last segment about games being more ambitious and from a performance standpoint, limited latency and input delay. Some of that obviously isn't on just the hardware, that's on servers and stuff like that if you're playing online. But you get what I'm saying. Whereas to here, on this article, they're talking about the difficulty, and the Souls games have been almost always difficult. Rather, it's become its own like difficulty setting, which I think is BS. I think that's unfair to the game. But what it does is games have classically been like there was a bunch of these back in the day. If you grew up playing Sega Genesis, NES, then you played games often that you never beat. I talk about this all the time. Vector Man 2. Vector Man 2, I never beat that game. Somehow I would love to play it now as an adult and I have the capacity. I'm a way better gamer than what I was as a youngster. But that was a game that I never beat. I never cried or thought about in my generation crying about the fact that I couldn't beat the game. I never cried to the developers. It was never well, I cannot beat this game, therefore the developers need to make an adjustment. That never crossed my mind. That never crossed my mind. And most of you guys that grew up playing games, whether it be NES or Sega Genesis, you knew that was the case. That was your experience as well. It was like, well, you couldn't beat it. And that was just what it was. Whereas we moved in because the games have become more casual, attracting more casuals, and even in the developmental process. This whole accessibility, which I hate that damn term, but that is a term often used so often when it comes to gaming that aren't just pertaining to, okay, you don't want these flashing lights or something like that. No, I'm talking about accessibility from a difficulty standpoint, because everybody, for whatever reason, nowadays thinks that every game has to be accessed by them. They have to be able to complete it. And that's bull crap, right? Now, going back to the Souls point, Souls, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, the difficulty, and this is why they are peak gaming for me, the difficulty has always been built into the game, right? It was built into the game, meaning that and that's why it's one of the more immersive games that will ever exist, because you're playing that game and you're completely on the edge the entire time you're playing it, which is a game to me. You have the controller in your hand. There are no resting points. Maybe running between spots that you need to go, but there's no like, well, I can just go through this part mindlessly. And that's what made the Souls games so good, is that you play it and you're like, well, if I don't pay attention, I'm going to get clapped and I'm going to lose and you're going to die. And that's fine. Had this argument, and I've been having this argument time and time again with the Avengers, for example, Marvel's Avengers, with that weird ass community of people that want the game to be easier, right? They can't do something as Hulk because they suck at the game. So what do? They cry to the devs. They get Adaptoids nerf. They want this character buff because they can't actually understand the concept of getting better at the game, or rather understanding the concept that, well, you just simply aren't good enough. Polygon reports, going to the actual point of the video, and this is the what they said in the actual PS5 Demon Souls remake article that they have up. And despite requests from a portion of the audience for easier difficulty options and a vocal contingent that would be upset by such a concession, there will be no difficulty setting in Demon Souls on PS5. More confirmed. He also says it's true to the original. It's a fair challenge in my view. It's about learning enemy patterns and learning the environment, knowing in combat when to challenge yourself with that risk and reward combat system, when to go in and attack and when to pull back and defend. That's what I've always loved about the Souls games, and I wish more developers did this. Well, they didn't apologize for the difficulty in their game. It was like, well, the game is what it is. Some of y'all are going to be able to beat it. Some of y'all are going to be able to have success. Some of y'all are not. That's not our problem. Figure it out. That's what I wish more games did. But unfortunately, they do not. But I wish more games did this. If more games did this, I think we get more quality, better quality, more competitive games. But this guy is talking about a portion from the audience for easier difficulty options. I don't think that's the portion of the actual Demon Souls fans, actually. I think what that is a portion of the outsiders looking in who see a bunch of people having fun with Demon Souls. And looking at Demon Souls as a great game, right? Historically great game. And they see that and they want to experience that. But when they pick the game up, they can't pick it up and breeze through it. The journalists can't pick it up so they could breeze through it, review it for their little stupid website. They can't do that, right? This is a game that you are going to have to actually develop skill to actually play and be good at it. But if you lose, you lose. There is no trying to dumb it down. I wish more developers did this. I'm tired of the accessibility thing. This whole idea that a game has to always appeal to the widest of demographics to be a good game, that's bullcrap. Again, prime example of this, Marvel's Avengers, where it tried to do that and it didn't even work. Where you try to appeal to the lowest common denominator, and it doesn't even work. So just make a damn good game. Just make a good game. If you have a group of people that are good at it, let them be good at it. If you have a group of people that suck at the damn game, you don't change it based on that. When you change games, change it to make it better, as in, okay, there's some bugs and stuff like that. Get it resolved, right? But when it comes from a difficulty standpoint, some of us, again, going back to the Marvel's Avengers example, some of us were able to do the heroic hive, which is supposedly the hardest thing that you could do with one damn character in the Hulk. I did it 3 times. And then I get on Reddit and it's a bunch of weirdos saying that Hulk needs a buff because they suck. And I'm sitting here thinking like, y'all, we're not cut from the same cloth of gamers. We're not. Because to me, it was never offensive that I couldn't complete something when I was a young kid growing up and playing these games. It was never a knock to me. I never felt like I was being crapped on when it was something that I just could not complete at the time. Sometimes I would play games, you probably did it as well. Play certain games, you couldn't get part of it. It's like, man, I'm going to have to redo this tomorrow morning and come back, refresh, regroup, and revitalize. You know? So let the game be difficult. It was Souls games were it was difficult. I don't say that it was difficult. I think we're using the wrong term. They see it as difficult because I think they see it as a mindless game. They see it as a mindless game, or they want it to be a mindless game, and they play it mindlessly, no matter what the game is. So as they're playing it, they're losing. They're obviously not doing that well for themselves. And they continue to do stupid stuff. They lose. And they think that is what makes the game good, bad, and what have you. But Souls games and games like that have been games where the game forces you to pay attention. The game forces you to be a gamer. Master the patterns of your enemy. Pay attention. Find out what that pattern actually is. Take advantage of your abilities. That's what the games were about, right? And that's what I love about, obviously, particularly the Souls games. But this isn't anything that's exclusive to Souls. But we are moving in this obsessive sort of accessibility thing, where people want to play a game and they want to play the game as mindlessly as they possibly can. And if the game does not offer something for them to do that, they think something's wrong with the game. If they cannot play the game like a freaking brainlet, they think something's wrong with the game, something's wrong with them. It's not something's wrong with them. They're fine, right? They believe that something's wrong with the actual game that they're playing. It's not them. And I just wish more devs would take the approach of the Souls approach, rather, and they say, you know what? The game is what it is. We're not adjusting for you. You adjust for the game. We need more like that. To me, those are the best games for user guys who don't like sports games or don't understand the approach of sports games. Why people play them is for that exact reason. Competitiveness. It's built into the game. Obviously, sports in general are games. Sports, they're competitive things. But when you have things like 2Ks, where you have park or you have rather the rec or the pro-am and stuff like that, and why so many play that? Because it's a competitive game. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. And some of us like that. So big shout out to those devs for not apologizing for that. I hope we continue to make games that, and definitely going into the generation, games that don't apologize for being difficult. Tired of this accessibility bullcrap.